Nico Penguin YouTube channel for productive gamers by a gamer with your host Nico Penguin. And today we have a Nico guest. So please welcome in joining or giving a warm welcome for a digital art director, gaming developer, entrepreneur, an online educator, and a fellow content creator, Nico. And I cannot pronounce your name well enough, Nico. So just let everybody know how to say your last name.
It's Nico Vachnadze. You don't have to remember that, but that's how it's pronounced.
Perfect. And for those that are tuning in, let them know, where you're calling from, as well as what exactly you do on a day-to-day basis in your job.
Yeah. So I'm calling from a country called Georgia. So it's not the state, located in Eastern Europe. And from DC. What I do is lately I'm mostly into developing art for games. So I run and specializes in 2D art, and then we do digital art asset for game projects. So that's like something that I do. And on the side, I'm also developing my own indie game, which is like a two-scroller pixel art game. And demo version now, so not much to show there, but it's gonna be pretty nice. Yeah. What else do I do? Yeah, I have like a and then digital art. So yeah, we can get into that later.
So it sounds like you do a lot of art-based content. Now, you did mention that you do indie development as well. I want to know what got you into doing digital art. What piqued your interest into doing that?
I always wanted to be an artist and make money with it, but it was very, very difficult. I was like, I tried many different approaches. Tried work as a curator in art galleries. Like hand painting, aim, but like it was pretty hard to get into it. Like it revolved around having a network of people who would buy your artworks, and yeah, I guess it really depends on a lot of factors, who you know. Where it was hard to make money with it. So what I did instead was business side of things, and then eventually created some platforms that allowed other art, and that proved to be successful. So I had that created art for like customized portrait. Some examples here.
Whoa, that is so cool.
So what that was is essentially a website where you can go in and then indicate who you want to be drawn as. And we had one which was about Rick and Morty style, and pretty well with that. Within around 6 months, we were pretty successful. And even for Post Malone, whose team invited us backstage to, he had like a big ass portrait like that.
What?
So
Yeah, that's cool.
Then eventually we had to shut down because like copyright on Rick and Morty. So like Warner Brothers, we have to either change things or just shut down. So we changed. It looked like Rick and Morty anymore, so people stopped buying it. And then after that, similar business model, but about Dragon Ball Z, which is like popular from Japan.
Big
if you
time.
know it. And then
for sure.
it was sold that. We operated that for about 2 years, and we sold the business, so it's still going. But during that time, I have contacts in the creative field. As you can guess, we had to manage artists who would actually draw these portraits. So that was my job of managing the artists and making sure the quality was pretty good. And so during the time, I met a lot of talented artists who I put in the new agency, which I currently run. We spoke of about the gaming side of things. So a couple of artists on the digital art agency, and then it's called Mossy Crew. I think there's a link if you guys want to check out what we've done so far. But yeah, we've done we worked on an RPG game, and we're working on an RTS game. So that's like real-time strategy. Yeah, making maps and stuff. So yeah, fun stuff.
Wow, so it sounds like you're a gamer at heart, and if you are a gamer at heart, I would like to know: do you have a specific preference for a gaming system?
I usually play from PC. That's my go-to.
Okay.
I grew up playing MMOs, but also all kinds of games. So I guess that's the preference for PC. So I don't know. I like just download Steam and testing them out for research purposes as well as for fun.
Yeah, research purposes for the win.
Yep, it's a good excuse to have when you're in the gaming world to play a game for research. But actually, that's kind of the purpose now. Yeah.
No, that's actually
So yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. So
What game would you say
yeah,
you dived in the most?
like in a lifetime, it was like MMOs. I played like RuneScape, World of Warcraft, Perfect World, and what else? Recently, obviously making a pixel art games. So I try to possible like the games that are about pixel art or with pixel art, and then do Valley, Terraria. Let's see what we got. We got which is like, I don't know if you played it. It's pretty nice. It's Stardew Valley, but for a graveyard. So you're like you're supposed to build up your graveyard so it looks nice. Bodies in there. It's really weird. Yeah. So there we have. It's currently no longer available for purchase, but it's a gladiator management. So you're like managing gladiators, training them, and then sending off for you, and grow your team like that. It's a game that I recommend to people who are interested in game development, game dev story, and it's going to give you a brief life game development is. Essentially managing a game development company.
Yeah.
And so your task is to hire artists, like developers, musicians, and writers. And with these 4 people to create games, and you have the ability to choose, like, if you want to for what is it, like Nintendo, or you want to make games for Game Boy, and each of them will give you a certain amount of revenue the devices are at the time. So it's a lot ideas taken from real life, applied in game. So, but it gives you a very good idea. It's like a simulation. Yeah. So, yeah. What about you? What do you play these days?
So I want to just put a pause right there. I haven't heard of game dev in such a long time. I remember when it came out, I immediately downloaded it and I put like 200 hours into that game. Like I really like that game because I've always had the mind like if I was good at art, I would love to like create games. So the moment you mentioned that, I was like, wait, this game sounds a little familiar. I'm like, is this a game on the iPhone where you can create games and hire people? I'm like, oh snap! I haven't heard about this game in years. So I definitely put in a lot of hours on that game. Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool recommendation. Definitely, if you are a future digital game artist or you want to be a game developer and you don't want to waste thousands of hours in school or in certificates, definitely check out game dev. It is really a good way to get that heads up as to what you're entering in, like especially if you decide to be a director or like a manager or a CEO, because one of the things that I was unprepared for in the game was the cost associated with the developers. And like every year you got to pay them more, and if your games are flopping, you still got to pay the artists the same, if not more, depending on the sales. So that's actually an interesting game recommendation. Definitely reminded me of the 2D art of the iPhone. As for what I play, I mainly just play League of Legends on the computer. And
Okay.
that's recency bias. I definitely played so many different kind of games before. I really love the MMORPGs. That's honestly how me and my friend used to always communicate, playing on the iPhone, Order and Chaos, and then on the computer with Path of Exile, as well as Vindictus and Destiny and Warframe. Just absolutely love video games. That's why my channel is based on gaming and how to become a productive member of a society. Now, I did want to ask you, because since you did mention that you're into the pixel art currently, but you've also played other game modes, if you have a preference between the 2D art or the 3D gaming models when you play, if you have a preference one versus the other, or you have the recency bias of the 2D pixel gaming.
Hmm. Um, I guess I do have a bias in a visually pleasing
Mm-hmm.
material, which obviously would be 3D with, I don't know, games like, for example, are very nice to look at and while you play it. So they're obviously like visual perception, like I would imagine a human would fit 3D or more realistic, more closer to reality, like psychological. But then there's the 2D aspect of things, especially pixel, back to touching the nostalgic feelings of
Yeah.
gamers. But by the way, is not really accurate, because the current pixel that is made, on modern software and modern screens is not the same as it was when
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
actually came out. Changed the way the pixel art looks. It wasn't like the pixels; it was more like blurred. And so, what pixelates, why it has so many techniques, is
Mm-hmm.
is to match this, try and try to replicate a more high quality visual. But yeah, so there's a video about it. Research that, and he explains it. I can send it to you
Mm-hmm.
later. But it's almost like a fake nostalgia, but obviously it
Ah.
stems. Yeah. So yeah, if you go back like and play an original pixel art game on the original television that was at it. It doesn't look anything like we have right now, because yeah. So, but I like both. But yeah, to answer your question, I guess 3D, I guess, yeah. But it's much harder to produce.
Oh, no, yeah, it takes way, way longer because I do remember when I played the Super Mario Bros. Back on the Nintendo, and then just trying to, do my absolute best with the 2D art. And it's just like now that companies are creating the pixel 2D art version of it, it does look way cleaner. I never really thought that it was like a fake pixelated art back then. So it's definitely like mind opening to think about how that was created back then, and then how now like there's so much visually pleasing video games now that the 3D art looks very, very real. Like the Unreal engines make things feel like we're like in a simulation kind of, because the art is just so hyper realistic. And I did want to know what keeps you focused on the pixelated video game art. Like what compels you to stick through and create that nostalgic video game or retro gaming art style.
Good questions. So primarily ease of use. I can quickly create up to as well as animations on Sprite. It's what I use it in game engine, and it works.
Mhm.
And there's not much to it. It's there. It's 2D. When you introduce 3D, it's get to think about, and it gets more complicated with physics and all that. So one is that's why also like early developers are mostly making 2D games, and because it's easier to do. And obviously it's nothing wrong with it, learning curve, because it's much better to start with something small and first success of finishing a game than have a crazy idea about a game that is going to take you maybe 3 years to actually finish it, but then it doesn't along the way, because that's very, very important. I think like 90% of maybe more, they just quit because the motivation isn't there anymore. Because so yeah, I decided to make that like a 5-6 months approachable small game that I can call it a finished game, and then take it from there.
Wait, so you're saying that a 2D game would take like 5 to 6 months, but a 3D game would take like 36 months to complete?
On what the idea of the game is, but if you think from the resource point of view, you need a 3D artist who, and then creating 2D art is much faster than creating 3D models, especially if you're making pixel art. I can create a character maybe 7-10 minutes, and it's done. But if you want to create a nice, and it's for pixel art, but for me or for anyone to create a full body with all the muscles and anatomy, then sculpt the face, all that, and then adding textures and making sure it's like it's not too heavy of a file to be processed. Way more complex work to think about. So that's just one aspect of it. Putting, as I said, like putting a 2D asset in game and run is much easier, for let's say taking purposes. I can just create maybe 10 frames of character running, and then you have a character running. But to get to do that in 3D, it's much more. So yeah.
Wow, that's actually I never really thought about the whole process behind the scenes that goes through it. So now I definitely got to give a bit more like dang to like all the games that I've played before because it looks like there's way more hard work that goes into it rather than just complaining that a bug just like ruined the experience of the game when in reality it could have just been an oversight because as you mentioned, there's so much work that goes into having that created. Now, I did want to ask, since you do lead a team and you also do your own indie game, how do you juggle the time and your primary priorities? Because both of those games and both of those projects are pretty much pulling you. So, how do you decide which one's the most important at the time, or how do you even find time to do your own indie game?
I just that's the real answer. Uh, and then we can get deeper into like how productivity works and how you can essentially, to put it very shortly, is your priorities. What is it that I need right now, and then
Mm,
decide to do. Because if, let's say, if you want to make money right now and you need it, or you want to get more like financially speaking, then
hmm
focus on tasks that bring you revenue. And then if you want to, your personal project move forward, and you can like, okay, I have time now, and I have uh, ability to fund, then you can do that. So it's just about prioritizing and figuring out what is urgent, what needs your attention, and then working as much as possible.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And do you find it easy or complicated, or because you've done it for a while now, you can already pinpoint what's the most important priority at the current time, and then just go and do that?
What really helps is having a master plan. Well, so this is like, this kind of thing you can draw like a mind map, or just like that outlines what you want to achieve within a set. Say within 1 year, I
Mhm.
want to have this much revenue, or um, I want my company to be this much clients, and then uh, figuring out how to get there. So you look at each goal and then figure out if you had, like, what do I need to do to get there, or uh, or reverse it, which means I was already there. How would I've gotten there, right? So if I already had a company that has, let's say, 10 employees,
Mhm.
how does the history of that realistically, right? So what would I have needed to do, which will give you another perspective on how to get there.
Oh, so you essentially reverse engineer from what you want to accomplish back to where you're currently at. And then once you do complete a project, reviewing, what are things that you could have tweaked to get there sooner or more efficiently under budget, etc.
Yeah, exactly. So to state that in simpler terms, you imagine your future self and reverse engineer that person standing there.
Oh, that's actually pretty
So,
cool that you're able to do that.
yeah, and anyone can do it.
Do you think that because you've done it for a while and you've been doing it constantly, that now at this present moment it might be just like second nature?
Maybe at it because I've done it a couple of times, but it's things down and draw things, like just whip up Photoshop and just draw it on. You know, it, I mean, just it's just about visualizing, and then uh, all the steps that you create are realistic and they actually hold value. That is, oh, I would like to do that. You do things that are so, because a lot of things that we do on a daily basis is like secondary tasks need to be there, but they feel like they are productive, but they're, and the most important thing to think about is the long term, because that's what's going to change. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in doing these secondary daily basis and really just go like, you know, a little bit maybe, you know.
And so, as a game developer, what would you say is, as a digital artist and game developer, what would you say is your favorite part of the game creation process?
Good question. So, you know, I don't have that much in the background to speak of, but I just like every little update we release, and the game becoming more and more alive, as well as seeing my friends play the pre-demo and seeing their reactions, and but just to into the running the project is it like project, seeing people do things that are interesting for them is also very like, if you have a project that several people are working on, you see them developing over the course of the project, or you know them them getting like salaries is even because they can you know, spend it on how they like or upgrade their equipment. Has happened to me a lot. Like people from working with me were able to a better apartment, or have like better equipment, drawing pads and stuff like that. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's actually really interesting to note. I also wanted to know, what do you think personally is your favorite compliment to receive when you're working on a game?
Interesting. I guess it hasn't happened yet because I haven't released the game. It being something like it, you know, it affected somebody. Maybe somebody could write like, oh, you know, I was having a bad day, and then my mood's much better now, or something like that. That would be cool. But I think that there's a lot of potential in games in terms of giving value, because the game I'm making now is focusing less on the of games and more on providing really player, because I'm sure like you played a lot of games and you have you probably got stressed at some point, right? Because a lot of recent games, they introduce, you know, stress factors that keep you in the game. They really like, that's like a part of why you play, because you know you just want to finish this level or something. Yeah, in you know, in a sense they gain a lot from it, because they it comes at a cost of player burning out. You know, there's like all sorts of things you need to remember, and you know, crafting material combinations, and all of this eventually really gets like really. So what I wanted to do is make a game that has a grinding, you know, level up and get stronger, but you at the same time can at your own pace. So yeah, we'll have like a very peaceful music to be relaxing, and then
nice.
yeah, it's about chopping wood. So it's like so that, but there's a potential entertaining yet educational, and also having positive impact on psychology instead of negative. Because I think we can games and maybe look at some research, and I'm pretty sure you would probably get negative sides to addicting games than positives. Gaming addiction and psychological implications and whatever. Yeah.
And are you looking to have, like, once you finish the indie game, the Mosey Crew, once you're done with it, are you looking to submit it to like Steam or other platforms in order to have a wider reach, or would you rather just have like a small kind of like marketing effort to have people download it directly?
So my initial plan is to really, and obviously I want to allow a lot of people to play it. Yeah, I'm looking to contacting publishing companies as well as investors. I'm participating on a competition soon where I will have like a booth and present my. So that's gonna be
Nice.
like a direct feedback from people. Growing it because I want to keep it small for it to be achievable, but also grow it. If the community has a positive, it's an expandable game, so it can be extended. POC.
Now, what is something that you would say to, as a piece of advice to any game developers, other than, working on the video game dev and seeing how it's done? Are there any like tips, tricks, any pieces of advice that you would give to somebody, even somebody that might be interested in starting up their own game? Things that you might just give them so that way, you can just leave them with a word of advice?
Yeah, sure. So I can't really say very wise things, but one thing I can crew. Um, I've had like my third developer now who I'm happy with, but before that I thought like so sometimes you may find yourself someone and you think that's that's it, you have to stick with them, but you don't really like bring your project down really quickly if you guys don't have a good chemistry. It is very important, and risking the finding new teammates is worth it, because in the long run you're going off if your partners are or your teammates are also enthusiastic about the project. If it's just you, then you're going to eventually drain, because you would have to be like one horse leading the whole project. But if you
Right.
have like also being excited about creating this game and playing it, other people like with your other horses, so to speak, just huge workload, so that's important.
Well, that's a great analogy in order to give that explanation. Well, I just want to give you another opportunity to let everybody know where they can follow you, where they can assist you, because as an indie creator, it's very important to get as many individuals to like, comment, subscribe to you, as well as to buy anything that you're selling. Because if you're not with any large publishers, then you need as many followers, as many people assisting you as possible. So let the audience know where they can support you.
Thanks. So we Discord community where you can join and see the development of the game. We post the art and as well as like the updates in videos. And also we love feedback from players. So if you join in and you want to see in the game, you're free to post that, and we will. I'll send you a link to post the Discord invite. But yeah, otherwise it.
Well, thank you so much, Nico V, for joining in on this interview series. If anybody liked this interview, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what was your favorite part. If you like the advice that he gave, as well as if you like how he leads his team. If you like that horse analogy at the end, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I wish you a fun, productive day. Other than that, Nico Penguin and Nico V, we are out. Thank you.